I pull my silver Lucid Air into the circular driveway of my childhood home, the electric luxury sedan humming to a stop between Chase's canary yellow Porsche and Derek's practical Suburban. My stomach twists into a knot I haven't felt since I walked out of this house 3 years ago. Dad's Tudor mansion looks exactly the same: immaculate landscaping, pristine windows, perfect in all the ways that matter to Warren Maddox. I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back barely resembles the girl who fled this place. Tailored black pantsuit, hair styled with calculated precision, lipstick a confident red. On the passenger seat lies a black envelope with "Dad" written in silver ink. My hand hovers over it, trembling slightly before I snatch it up. Just stick to the plan, I whisper to myself. The front door opens before I reach it. Warren Maddox fills the doorway, a tall man with silver hair and a permanently furrowed brow. His eyes flick from my face to the car behind me, narrowing slightly. "Oh, you actually showed up," he says, his voice carrying the familiar tone of mild surprise that I've accomplished something as simple as arriving on time. "Happy Father's Day." I step past him into the foyer, the envelope tucked discreetly into my purse. The house smells like roast beef and furniture polish. Some things never change. "Serena!" Chase calls from the living room, drink already in hand at 3 in the afternoon. "Nice outfit, job interview?" My older brother lounges on the leather sofa, his smile too white, too practiced. At 35, he still carries himself like the high school quarterback he once was, though his waistline has begun to betray his age. Derek stands by the fireplace, more subdued. He offers a small wave. "Good to see you, sis." My eyes drift to the wall of family photographs. My brother's faces dominate Derek's football trophies, Chase's real estate awards, countless images of them flanking our father at various events. I appear in exactly 3 photos, always partially cropped or standing at the edge. And there it is, Mom's empty chair, still positioned at its usual place by the window where she used to read. 3 years since her death, and her absence remains the only thing they've preserved with any reverence. "Drink?" Warren asks, already walking toward the bar cart without waiting for my answer. "Water is fine." "Still not drinking?" "Some things never change." He shrugs and pours himself 2 fingers of scotch. I take a seat at the dining table, positioned for a clear view of the driveway through the bay window. The table is set with the good china reserved for special occasions or to remind visitors of the Maddox family's status. The memory flashes unbidden 3 years ago in this same room. My laptop open, walking them through the educational software prototype I'd spent 18 months developing. The way Warren's eyes glazed over as I explained the algorithm that adapted to individual learning styles, Chase interrupting halfway through. "Sorry to cut you off, sis, but Dad, you have to see these commercial properties I'm looking at in Phoenix." And just like that, my moment evaporated. Warren's immediate attention shift as Chase pulled out his phone. Derek's apologetic glance that offered sympathy but no support. Later that evening, Warren raising his glass. "To my boys." Chase with his $1 million listing and Derek coaching his team to state finals. No mention of my work. The daughter at the table might as well have been invisible. I made my decision that night. "Still doing that computer thing?" Chase asks now, jarring me back to the present. "Something like that." I take a careful sip of water. Warren carries the roast to the table with ceremonial precision, carving knife glinting in the afternoon light. The routine is so familiar it aches. Chase launches into a story about his latest deal. 7 figures, Dad, and the commission check cleared yesterday. Derek follows with news about his students' college athletic scholarships. "What about you, Serena?" Warren asks, not looking up from his carving. "Still freelancing?" "Actually, I've been busy with a recent acquisition." Chase snorts. "What, like buying a new laptop?" The laughter around the table cuts through me, but I don't flinch. This is exactly what I expected. Warren raises his glass. "Proud of my boys." He glances at me with that familiar, dismissive smile. And then there's the other one. More laughter. I place my napkin beside my plate and stand. "I brought you something, Dad." The black envelope lands on the table with a soft tap. I turn and walk outside to reposition my car directly in front of the bay window. When I return, they're all standing at the window, staring at the luxury vehicle with confusion. Warren holds the envelope, unopened, his expression caught between annoyance and curiosity. "What is this?" he asks. "Open it and find out." I watch as the envelope trembles in Warren's hands. His knuckles whiten as he pulls out the stack of documents, legal letterhead crisp against his weathered fingers. The first page unfolds like a battle flag. This can't be right." His voice loses its usual commanding tone, replaced by something I've never heard before: uncertainty. Chase snatches the papers, eyes darting across the text. "What is it? What's wrong?" Derek leans over his shoulder, forehead creasing. "I don't understand." I stand perfectly still, my heart beats steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. This moment has played in my mind for 3 years, rehearsed in 1,000 variations. None match the raw reality unfolding before me. "It's exactly what it looks like," I say, my voice calmer than I expected. Arden EdTech has acquired majority shares in Apex Core Solutions through a strategic holdings company. The paperwork confirms the transfer of controlling interest. Warren's face drains of color as understanding dawns. "You purchased my company?" "Not your company, your employer." I correct him with precision. "You haven't owned anything at Apex Core since you sold your founder's shares to fund Chase's failed restaurant venture 8 years ago." The living room falls silent except for the grandfather clock ticking in the corner, the one Mom restored when I was 10. "What have you done?" Warren's question emerges as a whisper before rising to a roar. "What have you done?" Chase's eyes narrow, calculating. I recognize that look, the same one he wore when stealing my science fair project in 7th grade, claiming my work as his own. "Arden EdTech? You renamed your little hobby?" "No," I reply. "I legally changed my name to Serena Arden, then built a company that matters." Derek sinks into a chair, his athletic frame suddenly diminished. "I don't understand. How?" I take a measured breath. 3 years ago, I left with nothing but my education and an algorithm nobody here believed in. I developed adaptive learning software that dynamically adjusts to individual student learning patterns. Last year, we closed a $40 million funding round. Last month, we acquired Apex Core. Warren slams his hand on the dining table, rattling the china. "That's impossible. No education startup could generate that kind of capital." "You would know that if you'd ever bothered to read any of my emails." I pull out my phone, scrolling to a saved message. Like this one from 2 years ago, when I wrote to tell you about our first major contract with the Texas school system. Or this one, I swipe again, when Forbes featured me in their 30 Under 30 issue. Warren's face contorts. "I called your professor, you know, back when you were working on that ridiculous prototype, told him not to waste university resources on your project." The confession hangs in the air. I'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed sends ice through my veins. "I know," I reply. "Professor Harmon told me everything. He funded my initial development anyway." Chase shifts uncomfortably. "Look, sis, we were just trying to protect you from disappointment. That's why I told those investors to hold off. It wasn't personal." My laugh surprises even me. "Which investors, Chase? Marcus Thompson at Horizon Ventures? Or Richard Klein at First Capital?" "Because I have the emails you sent them, telling them my hobby business wasn't worth their time." I pull out a thin folder from my purse, placing it beside the acquisition papers. "I have every text, every email, every conversation where you undermined me, all meticulously documented." Derek looks up, his expression genuinely pained. "Serena, I had no idea they were doing that." "Your silence made you complicit, Derek. Every time they dismissed me and you said nothing, you chose a side." Warren stands abruptly, attempting to reclaim the authority draining from him with each passing second. "You can't run a company like Apex Core. You don't have the experience or connections." "My company has outperformed Apex Core for 6 consecutive quarters." I state flatly, "Our retention rates are triple industry standard and our software serves over 4 million students nationwide. Your division now reports to my board of directors." Chase leans forward, his smile suddenly ingratiating. "We should discuss how this affects the family. There might be synergies we could explore together." "There is nothing to discuss." I close the folder with a soft tap. "I'm informing you as a courtesy, not seeking permission or partnership." My phone buzzes. A text from Thomas. Transition team in place. All systems go. That's my business partner, I explain. The one who saw my potential when my own family couldn't. Along with Margaret Wilson, who mentored me when you, I look directly at Warren, told me women don't belong in tech leadership. The memory surfaces unbidden last Christmas, alone in my tiny apartment while they vacationed in Aspen. The family photo Chase posted captioned, Maddox Tradition, as if I didn't exist. Chase stands quickly. Let's talk about how we can work together. Family businesses have advantages. We stopped being family when you decided I wasn't worth your respect. I cut him off. Derek rises, his voice quiet. I had no idea you felt this way, that things were this bad. For a moment, his sincerity almost reaches me. Almost. I'm not here for revenge. I say, I'm here for closure. The weight that's pressed on my chest for years lifts as I say these words. The family that never saw me grapples with the woman I've become. 3 years earlier, I stand in the center of my Las Cruces studio apartment, arms spread wide, barely able to touch both walls. Everything I own occupies just 380 square feet, a second-hand futon that doubles as my bed, a desk rescued from a university surplus sale, and a whiteboard that consumes the entire wall opposite my kitchen. The whiteboard tells my real story. Red, blue, and black markers map out educational software architecture, user experience flows, behavior tracking algorithms, revenue projections. In the corner, a small calendar marks 278 days since I walked out of my father's house. This is either brilliance or madness, I whisper to the empty room, the words hanging in the still air scented with microwave ramen and coffee. My laptop pings with a calendar notification. In 8 minutes, I have a client call for my UI/UX contract, work the bread and butter that keeps this dream alive. I rush to straighten my shirt and smooth my hair before opening the webcam. The apartment stays carefully out of frame. Clients don't need to see my reality. After the call, I return to coding. Hours evaporate as my fingers dance across the keyboard, building a world inside the machine where learning adapts to each student's needs. The program begins to take form, clumsy at first, then gradually more responsive, more intelligent. At 2:47 a.m., the prototype completes its first successful run without crashing. It works, I say to no one, voice cracking with exhaustion and wonder. My eyes burn, my back aches, but something inside me lifts as the program demonstrates precisely what I promised in that dining room presentation my family couldn't be bothered to appreciate. Algorithms responding to different learning patterns, content adapting to engagement levels, real-time feedback that encourages rather than punishes. From the mini fridge, I retrieve a single chocolate cupcake purchased yesterday from the bakery down the street. A birthday candle just 1 sticks from its center. I light it with a match, the flame illuminating my tired face. Happy prototype day, I whisper before blowing it out. The next morning, my car refuses to start. The mechanic quotes $780 for repairs, money I simply don't have. The bus schedule becomes my new Bible. 2 hours each way to meet clients in person. Laptop balanced on my knees during rides. Dinner becomes whatever costs Leisterman with an egg for protein, peanut butter sandwiches, oatmeal at every breakfast. I calculate calories per dollar with the same precision I code. The growing stack of rejection emails from potential investors sits in a folder labeled Motivation. Your concept lacks market validation. Educational software is a saturated space. We don't see sufficient growth potential. Perhaps with more experience. Each night, I return to the whiteboard, refining, rethinking, rebuilding. The rejection counter reaches double digits, 10 investors seeing nothing of value in my vision. On a particularly low Tuesday, after a client cuts their project budget in half, I sit cross-legged on my futon with legal paperwork spread before me. Serena Elizabeth Maddox. I read aloud from my birth certificate. Beside it lies the name change application. My pen hovers over the line marked, Requested New Name. Serena Elizabeth Arden. I write, hand steady. Not a complete reinvention. Just enough separation to build something untethered from the Maddox legacy. Something entirely mine. The following week brings the lowest point. Bus fare but no grocery money. A choice between electricity and internet, the latter non-negotiable for work. The stack of additional UI/UX contracts grows. Stolen hours from my prototype development but necessary for survival. I work until my vision blurs. Sleep 4 hours, then start again. The rhythm becomes automatic. Contract work by day, my company by night. Sleep when absolutely necessary. Then comes the meeting that changes everything. One Wednesday afternoon, Dr. Patricia Gaines sits across from me at a campus coffee shop, arms folded, skepticism etched across her weathered face. 30 years as an education specialist has left her with little patience for what she calls tech salvation fantasies. "So you're another programmer who thinks algorithms can replace teachers?" she asks, not bothering to open the presentation folder I've prepared. "Actually, I think algorithms can free teachers to teach," I respond, sliding my laptop toward her. "May I show you instead of tell you?" Something in my voice, perhaps, the certainty, perhaps the exhaustion makes her pause. She nods once. For the next 17 minutes, I demonstrate the prototype, how it identifies when a student struggles with multiplication but excels at division, how it presents the same concept through different frameworks: visual, narrative, practical application, how it builds confidence through calibrated challenges. "This helps the kids everyone gives up on," I explain, my voice gaining strength. "The ones labeled difficult or slow when they're actually just processing differently." When I finish, Dr. Gaines stares at the screen. The silence stretches. Finally, she looks up. "My third-grade classroom has 6 students reading 3 levels below standard," she says. "Their previous teachers wrote them off. Would this work for them?" "It was built for them," I answer. She straightens her shoulders. "I'll give you 8 weeks with my class. If it fails, I'll make sure everyone in the district knows it." "And if it succeeds?" A thin smile crosses her face. "Then I know a lot of teachers who need this yesterday." I walk home instead of taking the bus, saving the fare for celebration ramen with an actual vegetable. For the first time in months, the path ahead seems to have some light marking the way. 2 weeks later, I interview Thomas Reynolds for a part-time development position I can barely afford. He reviews my code with growing interest, asking questions that reveal genuine understanding of the vision. "This salary is," he begins. "Insultingly low, I know," I finish for him. "But there's equity if we survive, and I can promise you're building something that matters." He studies me for a long moment. "When do I start?" Our first office is a converted storage unit with spotty Wi-Fi and folding tables for desks. Thomas brings a coffee maker, our first office perk. We celebrate our first school contract with pizza eaten while sitting on the floor, paper plates balanced on our knees. To actually getting paid to do this, Thomas toasts with lukewarm soda. The team grows slowly. Marissa joins for UI, UX, Jaden for data analysis, Raphael for curriculum integration. 5 desks crammed into a space designed for storage. 5 people who believe when no one else would. On a sweltering August afternoon, my phone rings with an unfamiliar number. "Is this Serena Arden?" asks a crisp voice. "This is Eleanor Mitchell with the Brightwood Educational Foundation. We've been following your pilot program results with considerable interest." I sit perfectly still, afraid any movement might break the moment. "We'd like to discuss potential funding for a significant expansion." That night, alone in my apartment, a slightly larger one now, with an actual bedroom, I stare at the email confirming the foundation's interest. $3 million in seed funding. National distribution potential. Everything I've worked for materializing like a mirage, becoming solid. My finger hovers over my father's contact entry. For one moment, I imagine his face when I tell him, the validation, the acknowledgement, perhaps even pride. I close the contact list without calling. They've made it clear I don't exist in their world unless I exist on their terms. Some successes aren't meant to be shared. Instead, I open my browser and search Apex Core Solutions financial reports. My father's company where he's worked for 20 years, rising to division president, building his identity and status. The company he values more than his daughter. The quarterly statements reveal what the business press hasn't yet caught: consecutive quarters of declining revenue, market share erosion, a vulnerable giant. I open a new document and title it Strategic Acquisition Framework. Beneath it, I write my first note: Delaware Holding Company to maintain privacy. Outside my window, the New Mexico sun sets in a blaze of orange and purple. Inside, in the growing shadows, I begin building something entirely different from educational software. A path back to the family tableau, not as the forgotten daughter, but as the woman holding the keys to everything they value. Another memory flashes back. One Tuesday morning, the sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office at Arden EdTech headquarters. I stand before the glass wall, Las Cruces spreading out below me like a testament to distance traveled. 3 years ago, I huddled in a converted storage unit with secondhand furniture. Now 20 employees occupy the open concept workspace behind me, their keyboards clicking in rhythm with progress. Serena? Thomas knocks on my open door, waving a folder. The National EdTech Fund acquisition offer just came through. Final numbers. My stomach tightens as I take the folder. The figure on the bottom line still startles me: 8 digits with a substantial cushion before the decimal point. Have you looked at this? My voice remains steady despite the thundering in my chest. Thomas grins, crow's feet deepening around his eyes. Hard not to. First person you hired deserves first peek, right? The corners of my mouth lift. Thomas believed in Arden EdTech when it was nothing but algorithms on a whiteboard and instant ramen dinners. He left a secure position at Microsoft to join me, working 6 months without salary when funds ran dry. Call everyone in. They should hear this together. 20 minutes later, my team gathers in our central meeting area. No massive mahogany table like Warren's conference room, just comfortable chairs arranged in a circle, hierarchy flattened by design. We've received the final acquisition offer from the National Educational Technology Fund. I announce, feeling each pair of eyes. $26 million for our adaptive learning platform. The room erupts. Michaela, our UX designer, covers her mouth with both hands. Dev, our lead programmer, pumps his fist skyward. Even stoic Ramona from accounting allows herself a grin. This isn't my success, I continue when the noise settles. This belongs to everyone who believed in making education accessible when traditional systems failed. My throat tightens. To everyone who saw value where my own family couldn't. Scattered applause breaks out, but my mind drifts to another conference room 40 miles north. Warren sitting at the head of Apex Core's table, unaware his company has been bleeding market share for months. Unaware his daughter holds enough shares to control his professional fate. Thomas catches my eye across the room, his expression asking a silent question. Are we still going through with the plan? I nod once, barely perceptible. Back in my office, I unlock my bottom drawer. Inside sits a manila folder containing printouts of Warren's emails about me. Serena's little computer project and hobby business feature prominently in conversations with potential investors who later declined meetings with me. Chase's name appears in several threads. My phone buzzes with a text from Derek. Hope you're doing well. Dad's sending Father's Day invites. Coming this year? 3 years of similar texts. Surface-level concern without substance. Never once asking about my work or acknowledging the family dynamics that drove me away. I open my laptop and find Warren's email waiting exactly as expected. The same perfunctory invitation he sends annually, likely drafted by his assistant. No mention of our 3-year silence. No acknowledgement of my absence. My reply takes 4 careful drafts before I'm satisfied. I'll be there, looking forward to seeing everyone. 6 simple words that reveal nothing of what awaits. The black, sleek car I purchased last week sits in my assigned parking space. Not for show, a milestone marker. The day I could afford it without financial strain represents everything I've built. The salesman asked if I wanted to test drive a red model. I declined. Black holds power, doesn't demand attention, simply commands respect. My calendar notification blinks. Therapy, 3 p.m. Dr. Levinson has guided me through this process for 18 months, helping separate healthy closure from destructive revenge. Today's session focuses on final preparation. Are you certain this confrontation serves your healing rather than prolonging pain? She asks, her office walls the color of desert sand. I consider her question carefully. This isn't about hurting them, it's about freeing myself. And the acquisition timing coinciding with Father's Day? Strategic. I trace the edge of her leather sofa with my fingertip. The performance reviews for Warren's division are scheduled for the following Monday. The board needs to understand who's actually in control before decisions are made. As I leave her office, my phone rings. Chase's real estate partner, unaware of our connection, wants to discuss potential educational spaces for Arden EdTech's expansion. The invisible threads I've been weaving pull tighter. That evening, Thomas calls as I prepare legal documents for the black envelope. Are you absolutely sure about this? His voice carries genuine concern. Once you cross this bridge. I close my eyes, breathing deeply. Fear flutters beneath my ribcage, not of confrontation, but of its absence. Of walking away without claiming my truth. Of never being seen by the people who should have seen me first. I've never been more certain of anything, I answer, sealing the envelope with deliberate pressure. It's time they understood exactly who I've become without them. At the present, still at the dinner, Warren's knuckles turn white around his butter knife. This is impossible. You can't possibly have the capital to... Arden EdTech valuated at $175 million after our last funding round. I say, the educational software I started building in college, the one you called my little hobby now, serves over 2,000 schools nationwide. But your name, Chase sputters. The documents say Serena Arden. I legally changed it 3 years ago, the day after Mom's funeral, actually, the day you all flew to Aspen without me. Derek flinches. Warren's face contorts with rage, then shifts to calculation. Sweetheart, this is impressive. I always knew you had potential. If you'd just... Don't. My voice cuts through his patronizing tone. I have emails where you told Professor Jenkins my software concept was unrealistic. I have the recording of you telling investors to avoid my hobby business. Chase's smirk vanishes. You recorded us? I documented everything. I pull out my phone, scrolling through saved messages, including your text to Richard Briggs warning him I was emotional and not business-minded. The temperature in the room seems to drop 10 degrees. Warren slams his fist on the table. You did this for revenge. I did this despite you, not because of you. I meet his gaze steadily. Every time you dismissed me, every time you interrupted my pitch to praise Chase's real estate deals, every time you called my work, that computer thing, I built Arden EdTech while you were busy telling everyone I would fail. A heavy silence blankets the room. Derek stares at his plate. Chase's jaw works silently. I never thought you had it in you, Warren finally whispers, his voice hollow. That's the problem, Dad. It never mattered what you thought, it only mattered what I did. Derek looks up, his eyes wide. Dad, we were wrong about her. Chase's mask slips completely, revealing naked envy. So what now? You fire us all, take over? Is that your plan? I didn't come for your approval or for revenge. I stand, smoothing my jacket. I came for closure. Apex Corps' education division will be integrated with Arden EdTech. The board meets next week to discuss restructuring the remaining divisions. You can't just... Warren begins. I can. I place my napkin beside my plate. And as majority shareholder, I will. Any future relationship between us requires acknowledgement of what happened and genuine respect moving forward. Those terms are non-negotiable. I pick up my purse and walk toward the door, their stunned silence following me like a shadow. Mom would have been proud, I say without turning around. She was the only one who ever believed in me. The door closes behind me with a soft click that sounds like freedom. 6 months have passed since I walked out of my father's Tudor mansion with my head high and my shoulders straight. The morning sun filters through the glass walls of Arden EdTech's expanded headquarters, casting golden light across the innovation lab where 4 young women huddle around a prototype, their excitement palpable. "Miss Arden, we've increased engagement metrics by 38% with the new interface," says Lydia, her eyes bright with the thrill of creation. At 22, she reminds me of myself, except she has something I never did, a mentor who believes in her. "Show me," I say, leaning in to watch as she demonstrates the adaptive learning platform that automatically adjusts to different cognitive styles. Pride blooms warm in my chest, not the brittle pride of proving others wrong, but something richer, the satisfaction of building something meaningful. I catch my reflection in the glass wall. The woman looking back stands taller, smiles easier. My red blazer, a color I once wore like armor, now feels like a choice rather than a statement. My phone buzzes with a text from Thomas. "Board meeting prepped. Apex core transition complete." In my office, framed in simple black, hangs a small embroidered reminder: "Build, don't break." A gift from Margaret, the first person who saw potential in my hobby software when my own family dismissed it. The words have become my North Star. Warren took early retirement rather than report to me. His farewell email to staff never mentioned my name, just "new management." Chase has called 17 times in the past month, each voicemail more desperate than the last, filled with partnership proposals and family legacy talk. I haven't returned a single one. Derek is different. His letter arrived 3 weeks ago, handwritten on yellow legal pad. I should have spoken up. I should have seen what was happening. "I can't undo the past, but I'd like to understand who you are now, if you'll let me." We've had coffee twice. Awkward, halting conversations punctuated by long silences, but without the performance of family roles. Progress measured in small truths. My therapist Patricia says healing isn't linear. Some days I still wake with that knot in my stomach, phantom echoes of Warren's dismissive tone ringing in my ears. But those moments grow fewer. Tonight I host a small dinner at my new home, a modest but light-filled house near the university. No formal dining room, just a round table in an open kitchen where Thomas, Margaret, Patricia, and 4 team members gather. Derek sits somewhat uncertainly among them, the only blood relation present. Wine glasses catch the light as I raise a toast to building something that matters. Later, as guests depart, Derek lingers. "Do you think Dad will ever understand what he lost?" I watch headlights fade down my driveway. That's not my responsibility anymore. The scholarship for overlooked STEM students launches next month. The magazine feature on quiet leadership comes out next week. But tonight, in this moment of simple connection, I realize success isn't measured in acquisitions or revenge. It's measured in freedom,